What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another vlog. I got a lot of things to do today, but I figured we should talk. My house is a bit of a mess right now. There's books everywhere. So I am about to make some quick dinner. And I also wanted to chat with y'all about everything I've been reading lately, because I've been reading a lot. I've been getting through a lot of books lately, so I'm gonna make my food and let y'all know what's up. So dinner is part me cooking and part Safeway. They got some chicken. It's $6 for 8 pieces of chicken. The lady was nice and she gave me a bunch of breasts. So I got 4 breasts and like 3 legs of the roasted chicken. But I'm gonna make some kale, and I also grabbed some sweet potatoes that I'm gonna whip up real quick. And then we're gonna call it a night. Yeah, I wanted to talk about what I was reading. So I've been making lots of videos for Book Talk Tuesdays, which are going to premiere. I may have to do Book Talk Tuesdays and Book Talk Thursdays because I've been getting through a lot of books and I just have so many other ones I want to talk about that I may have to like space out the content over more than just one day. So we may be looking at doing book talks multiple days a week. We'll definitely let y'all know how that is and what's going on with that. I will keep you updated on that. We are also working to identify other areas that I can make content related to book talk about because I want to make as much content as possible for our book talk family. And I enjoy talking about it. It's actually quite fun for me. But yeah, let's talk this week's reads. So I've been reading a lot of books. Like I said, I've had the opportunity to get through a lot this last 10-day period, last 10-day stretch. I first read James. I read and started and finished James on Juneteenth through the 21st. Phenomenal book. Full book review is coming for this as part of the book talk series. Also started and finished Sula, and this is actually my first book for the book talk series. And I'm currently reading and Unbossed by Shirley Chisholm. I'm about 10 or 15 pages into this. Actually, let me check. I can tell you exactly where I am. I think I'm maybe more than that. I'm 37 pages into this. And I'm also reading, I hope I say this correctly, Ghalen or Ghalen? Ghalen, maybe Ghalen. I'm reading Ghalen by Walter Mosley as well. And all of these books have been bangers so far. Different genres, different types of books for sure. So Ghalen is a romance love story. James is historical fiction. The inverse telling of the inverse telling of the Adventures of Huckleberry Finn from James, aka Jim's perspective. Sula is a story about friends, about Sula and Nell, and about a woman's own identity and her own right to her humanity, basically, in my opinion, is what it's about. And then Unbought and Unbossed by Shirley Chisholm is her autobiographical story about her rise to being the first Black woman to be elected to the United States Congress. And man, I gotta tell you, I'm having a good time reading all these works. And I really enjoyed the things that I read as it relates to James and Sula. Sula was a work, and I talk a lot about this in my full video that I'm posting next week. But Sula was the book for me in the Toni Morrison series that I had a hard time getting through. And I'll show y'all my Toni Morrison stack, everything I have. So this is my Toni Morrison stack. I know people talk about Toni Morrison a lot and they be like, are we tired of her? I can never get tired of Toni Morrison. I'll never say nothing like that. But this is my stack. So far I have read The Bluest Eye. I've read, oh, I forgot Sula. I gotta show y'all the full stack. This is my Toni Morrison stack. Okay, so I have The Bluest Eye. I have Sula. I have Planet in the Dark. I have Song of Solomon. I have Jazz. I have Beloved. And I hate these editions. I'm gonna have to buy another copy because this happened way too easily. I have A Mercy. I love this cover. And I had a picture on the back. Love this cover. And I have Paradise. And I've also read Recitative, and I don't have a physical copy of that, but I will be buying one. Because I do think that Recitative is in a way, a bit of a follow-up story, or maybe a continuation of Sula. So I do think it's one necessary. So I've read 5 Tony stories. I'm gonna put them in order of my favorite to least favorite. So at the bottom of the pyramid, I know this is her first works. Great book. Tony doesn't have a bad book, I should say that. But the bottom, at least what I've read thus far. But this one for me is the darkest, and I think it is my least favorite now that I've read her other works. It was my favorite when it was the only one I read, but now it's my least favorite. Second, ooh, this is hard. Fourth in my lineup, I'm gonna go with Sedative. I thought it was good. I think it's important. I think it's a great introductory Toni Morrison work. I feel like one of the things I think could have been more clear about that one was I feel like I was thrown, she throws us in her stories all the time, but I feel like I was thrown in the story and I would have appreciated just a little more fleshing out of the characters and a little more fleshing out like in between some of the gaps in their lack of communication, like the years they didn't talk. But it was still a good book. Number 3, I'm gonna go on Mercy. I thought Mercy was really good. I really think that Mercy and Beloved are companion books, and I think that this one is not as intricate and intimate as Beloved, but it is still as good and still as important because it tells the story of the shaping of how people found their identities and like the way that America came to be in how it came to understand who played what role in our society, like as things started to form and exist. Number 2 that I've read so far, I'm going Sula. This book was phenomenal. When I finally was able to wrestle with it and sit with it and listen to what Toni was trying to say about freedom, about getting free, about having the choice and having the opportunities to do like what you love and what you want. And I think it was just a great book. And then Beloved is my number 1 Toni book. Beloved changed it rocked my world. So Rocket, she rocked my world with Beloved. It was so good, so moving, so impactful. So like, it was one of those like earth shattering books for me. And I reference it so frequently because it was just that good. So that's my rankings of my current stack. Let me put them in order. The Bluest Eye, Mercy, and then Beloved on top, and then Sula second. So that's my current rankings. And then I'm gonna read Song of Solomon next, because I feel like when you talk about Toni Morrison, people always say Song of Solomon, Sula, or Beloved. So Song of Solomon is next, but I'm gonna read this first. I don't know when I'm gonna get to these. I gotta take breaks in between Toni's because I don't have, she has no more works coming out. So I need some time to let it sit in. So I probably will read this first and then I'll get to this. But yeah, those are my upcoming Toni reads. And I've been talking to y'all so long, I done got distracted from the meal. So let me get back to this. We're gonna heat up this skillet real quick. Pre-washed this bag because I had bought a bag of it from Whole Foods earlier. So I'm gonna throw this in here, put a little olive oil, avocado oil spray in there. And I'm not gonna go crazy with the seasonings this time because I think last time I over salted them. So just a little badia for now. And then, that may have been too much then. And a little garlic powder and a little smoked pap. And then we're just gonna throw 1 chicken bouillon cube in there and let it do its thing. And then I'm gonna rinse some more of this kale up. Rinse some more of this kale up and throw it in there too. This thing says I can cook these in the air fryer, but I don't trust that. So, I don't know. I think I'm gonna cook them. I'm gonna try it. You think you could put this in the air fryer? I don't know. That sounds a little too risky for me. I think I'm gonna put it in the oven. I'm gonna bake it real quick. Let me put it on 400. All right, we're gonna throw that in the oven. I'm gonna put it in a cast iron so we can get a nice little crisp on it. Chop up some onion real quick. I'm gonna use this bell pepper too because I got it. I need to use it before it goes bad. Let's talk about James, bruh. Percival Everett is in my top 5 writers now, and I actually am gonna have to start collecting his other books. The way that man writes about racism and how stupid he makes racism feel and sound, and just the intellect that his characters, what's going on here? That his characters possess and how brilliant. I can tell how highly Percival Everett thinks of Black people because of the way that he writes his stories and the brilliance that he believes that we have. I'm just in awe. I really am. It makes me like What I can say with absolute certainty is that Percival Everett's writing makes me want to be a writer. And I'm not talking about like a legal writer. Like, he makes me want to write fiction works. And I think I've had a desire to do that before reading some of his works, but his works makes me want to dream bigger and think about a world that, like, how does he put himself in that space to make those worlds and do it so well. Like, I was watching him talk about Jim. He was talking about the trees on a podcast of sorts. And one of the questions was, how did you make the racists, the KKK, seem so stupid? And he was like, I'm just making it historically accurate. And one, hell yeah, you are making them historically accurate. But two, it's like, that's such a cold thing to say, such a fire way to think about like how you're doing restorative justice work in a way, and telling and retelling this story about Emmett Till and getting Emmett Till the justice that he could never get through fiction. It was just a great book, bro. But James is not about that. James is about Huck Finn and James, aka Jim, and all the impossible choices that he had to make as a slave and as someone who didn't have control over their own freedom and everything that his freedom cost. And it was just like, there were so many painful moments in it, but there were also so many beautiful moments in it. And I don't want to say too much because I'm going to make a full review about it, but James is one of those books, man. If you ain't bought this book, if you don't have this book, you must go get it immediately. Like, his pen game is crazy, and his thought processes about race and the way it comes across in his books, just phenomenal. Really, 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 really good work. So I would recommend checking all of those out for sure. And then I'm currently reading Ghalen by Walter Mosley, who, when I was reading the description of the book, I also found out that he is a writer on Snowfall. He was a writer on Snowfall, and he, of course, had that fire Apple TV series that Sam Jackson starred in, The Last Days of Ptolemy Gray, which was just absolutely amazing. I've gotten through about 100 pages of this one as well. It's really good, and it's a simple love story. It's one of those things, I think it's interesting to see the perspective that a man writes a love story from. I read a lot of women's love stories, a lot of like Kennedy Ryan, and like I read the Skyland series, This Could Be Us. And the way that Kennedy writes it, like, there's no sex scenes in this book, at least not yet that I remember. But there is a lot of talk about love. And there's also like a lot of obstacles in this love. And I think that's interesting, the way that he frames it and the way that he writes love in general, in a way that I don't think I've seen Kennedy Ryan, or I read You Made a Fool Deaf with Your Beauty. I can't pronounce her name though, the way that she wrote about it. And the love in her book was messy. Whereas I think Kennedy Ryan's love stories are complex. I wouldn't necessarily say like they are messy, they're complex. That book, You Made a Fool Deaf with Your Beauty, that love was messy. It was a messy love story. And then this book, Ghalen is, I think it's Ghalen because they call him Gailey in the book. That's his nickname. But Ghalen is like, it's complicated. It's like, the love here is really complicated. Even like in the spaces where it doesn't seem like people are showing love, I think in a complicated, matter-of-fact way they are. So, and the people who are in love itself is complicated. I think it's the first time I've ever read a story about someone being a neurodivergent person being in a relationship with someone in a romantic capacity, and been written about with them being the focus of the book. And I think it's really dope. And Walter writes this book from the perspective of like, there's not Kennedy Ryan's books are first person. So you're hearing it as, Josiah or as Yasmin or as whoever the character is. Whereas here it's a all-knowing narrator who's popping back and forth between each character's life and telling us a little bit, and then there's like the intersections and the webs all between. But it also, he writes this book in a way that it feels like you're watching a TV show, which makes it really interesting and really dope to check out and read. So I would definitely recommend grabbing a copy of it as well. Here's a picture of the cover again, if you needed to see that. Ghalen by Walter Mosley. And finally, the book I've made the least progress in this week, Unbought and Unbossed by Shirley Chisholm. I've also picked up and put this down quite a bit. I'm a big fan of biographies. I did watch her Jenna King adaptation of Shirley Chisholm's book and her biographical story on Netflix, and it was good. But I want to hear what Shirley had to say about her life in her own words, especially considering like all this happening as it relates to Black congressional representation in America today. You know, I think we're definitely going to continue to see attacks on the availability of Black folks to have fair representation in Congress. So I'm interested in what not only Shirley Chisholm has to say, but Bill Clay and John Conyers and a lot of other folks who are in the inaugural classes of the Congressional Black Caucus and the first Black folks to be members of Congress and Black. So yeah, I'm excited to read more about that as well and get through that, and I'll keep you updated on that. But that's everything I've been reading this week. I hope that I inspire you to grab a copy or pick up some of these books. So again, for a quick little review, I've been reading Shirley Chisholm's Unbought and Unbossed. I'm currently reading Walter Mosley's Ghalen. I finished James and also finished Sula by Toni Morrison. So be sure to grab a copy of those books and be sure to look out for the latest episode of Book Talk Tuesdays and maybe Thursdays, where I'll talk about those books in more depth. And I'll talk about those books in a more substantive and deep capacity. But thank y'all for stopping by and cooking a little bit with me, and I'll holler at y'all next time. Later. Peace.